In one of my previous videos, I discussed what would happen if all insects disappeared from planet Earth. Today's scenario is similar, but even more ambitious. What would happen if all wild animals, including insects, fish, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and mammals, disappeared from planet Earth overnight? Would our world still work? And more importantly, would we still be able to live in it? Join me as we find out. As always, this is a simplified model, and reality is far more complex. Feel free to add your thoughts and comments below. There are around 8.7 million known wild animal species on planet Earth, not including microbes. To make things easier, I'm going to focus on larger animals only. But before we begin, let me explain why I keep making these apocalyptic videos. Wild animals are declining at an alarming rate due to human activity. So I'm trying to raise awareness about this issue. It's easy for us to ignore the problem when we don't see it directly affecting us. But by understanding the consequences of losing wild animals, we can learn to appreciate their importance and take action to protect them. My goal is not to scare people, but to inspire positive change. I firmly believe that humans can turn this situation around. We have the intelligence, creativity, and compassion to make a difference. This is just one small part of my journey towards living a more sustainable and compassionate life. Every step we take, no matter how small, brings us closer to a better future. So please join me and become an agent of change. Together, we can make a real difference. Now let's return to our thought experiment. Why are wild animals so important to our world? They are essential for maintaining balance within ecosystems. Predators help control populations of prey species, preventing any one species from becoming too abundant and dominating an ecosystem. Pollinators like bees, butterflies, and ants transfer pollen as they gather nectar, ensuring the reproduction of plants. Without pollinators, many plants would struggle to produce fruits and vegetables, impacting both wildlife and humans who rely on these plants for food. Scavengers like vultures and hyenas feed on dead animals, cleaning up carcasses and preventing the spread of disease. Decomposers break down dead organic matter, recycling nutrients and making them available to other organisms. These processes are vital for sustaining life on Earth. If all wild animals disappeared, numerous problems would arise, and our world as we know it would cease to exist. What would happen to forests without herbivores? They would likely be completely overgrown. Deer, rabbits, woodpeckers, beavers, and countless other animals spend their days eating plants. Without these consumers, the plant kingdom would have a field day. In the absence of grazing animals, grasslands could quickly transform into thickets, and even small shrubs might grow to the size of trees. The forest floor would become a tangled mess of vegetation, making it hard for any life to thrive. Sunlight wouldn't reach the ground, and there would be massive die-offs of plants. And what about the forest's predators? Species like wolves, bears, leopards, and eagles play a crucial role in keeping the numbers of herbivores under control. Their presence helps maintain a balance in the ecosystem, preventing any one herbivore species from dominating and wiping out all the available vegetation. Without predators, herbivore populations would explode, leading to overgrazing and the destruction of large areas of vegetation. But what about the oceans? If fish were to vanish, many coastal towns and villages would face food shortages. Some communities rely heavily on fishing for protein, especially in places where farming is difficult. And what would happen to sea otters, seals, and whales if all the fish disappeared? Their diet consists mainly of mollusks, crustaceans, and other marine creatures. But without fish to prey on, these predators would likely starve. Coral reefs would also suffer. Many fish species depend on coral reefs for food and shelter. Removing fish could lead to the collapse of coral reef ecosystems. In fact, it could trigger the collapse of the entire ocean ecosystem. But hold on, there's more. Over 70% of Earth's surface is covered in water, and most of it is in the form of oceans. The vast majority of our planet's wild animals live in the seas, and if they all disappeared, our planet's ecosystems would collapse. Okay, but what if we assume that our agricultural systems would remain unaffected and continue to produce food as usual? Even then, life on Earth would be impossible. We couldn't survive without insects for pollination. Even if we tried to replace them with machines and hired more farm workers, we simply couldn't keep up. And what about all the rats and mice that infest our farms? Rodents can cause significant damage to crops and stored grain. Farmers use various methods to control rodent populations, such as traps, poisons, and natural predators. Eliminating rodents entirely could lead to an increase in crop losses due to the unchecked spread of diseases and weeds. But wait, there's more. Bats are responsible for pollinating many agricultural crops. Without bats, the yield of these crops could decrease substantially, leading to potential food shortages. In addition, bats also help control insect populations, including agricultural pests. By reducing the number of insects, bats contribute to increased crop yields and reduced pesticide use. Eliminating bats could lead to an increase in pest populations and a corresponding increase in pesticide use, which has its own set of environmental and health concerns. So even if we somehow managed to maintain our agricultural systems without any issues, we wouldn't be able to survive without wild animals. Where would we even get water? Around half of the world's population already faces water shortages, and the loss of wild animals would only exacerbate this problem. Beavers play a crucial role in the management of water resources as they build dams that create wetlands, regulate water flow, and promote the infiltration of water into the ground. This helps to reduce the risk of floods and droughts, which are both major causes of water scarcity. Additionally, beavers create habitats that support a wide variety of plant and animal life, contributing to overall biodiversity and ecosystem health. But what about domesticated animals? They seem pretty resilient, right? Well, domestic animals would likely continue to exist for the immediate future, as long as humans continue to care for them. However, over time, they would eventually face extinction due to the collapse of ecosystems. Domesticated animals rely on humans for their survival, but they also require a healthy environment to thrive. As ecosystems began to collapse, domesticated animals would likely suffer from a lack of resources and habitat loss, ultimately leading to their extinction. How would humans fare in a world without wild animals? The consequences would be dire for humans in every aspect. Losing wild animals would result in the loss of biodiversity, which can have negative impacts on human health, well-being, and culture. For example, many cultures have deep connections to nature, and the loss of certain animals can have a profound impact on their cultural identity. People who live in areas with abundant wildlife may also face food shortages if those animals disappear. But what about bigger picture impacts? What would happen to forests and oceans? In the absence of wild animals, forests would likely become overgrown and unbalanced, leading to potential die-offs of plant species and a decline in overall biodiversity. Oceans would suffer a similar fate, with coral reefs collapsing and marine ecosystems collapsing. Without predators to control populations of herbivores, plants would likely take over, blocking sunlight from reaching the forest floor and disrupting the balance of the ecosystem. Similarly, in the oceans, the loss of predatory fish could lead to an explosion in the populations of smaller fish and invertebrates, disrupting the delicate balance of marine ecosystems. Climate change would likely worsen. Carbon cycles and climate patterns depend on the interactions between wild animals, plants, and their environment. Removing wild animals could disrupt these cycles, leading to changes in temperature, rainfall, and other factors that could have cascading effects on the environment. For example, termites play a crucial role in regulating the global carbon cycle by breaking down dead wood and releasing carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. Without termites, the amount of carbon stored in dead wood would increase, potentially leading to a buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and contributing to climate change. Our world is intricately balanced, and removing one element can have ripple effects throughout the entire system. While humans could technically survive without wild animals by creating artificial systems to replace their roles, it would be a deeply unsustainable and soulless existence. What can we do now to prevent the extinction of wild animals? The answer lies in our hands. By working together, we can protect wild animals and the habitats they depend on, push for stronger policies that safeguard biodiversity, raise awareness, and make conscious choices in our daily lives. Every small step we take brings us closer to a sustainable and compassionate future. Let's join hands and become agents of change.